auto sequence start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, hello there. Welcome, my fellow purveyors of periodicals, to another installment of Canned Conversation. My name is Andrew. With me, as always, my good friend Stephen.
Well, hello.
They say you learn something every day, my friend. What was your new nugget of brain food you digested today?
Oh, really? You know I've had a rough day. Collaboration, when done right, is way more productive than people working in silos.
That sounds good to me.
All right.
Yeah, we'll give you a woohoo for that.
Hey, thanks.
Come together for collaboration. Don't try to collaborate in little pods or little silos, as you say, because what do you have, like one person running between trying to play telephone?
Yeah, or presenting going, I think this is how it should work, and they ended up with a bunch of assumptions. And then you're like, well, all those assumptions are false, so whatever you put together kind of sucks.
Gotcha.
So,
all right. Well, keep on learning, everybody.
Yeah.
I'm glad you learned something today. All right. Well, let's just get right on with it. I think we got a packed agenda, maybe.
yeah, sure.
I know we got some fun things to talk about today. So
We're going to hot topic this thing.
we need
hot takes.
We need a can
Yeah.
in order to progress this show along. That's how this thing works. As is our gimmick, one of us brings a new, unique, or rare canned beverage to try. And while we partake of its contents, we will do our very best to entertain you with our incredibly valuable views on all of life's most mundane.
Yeah.
Today's being about the latest in the political theater. And news.
We're going to call it news and hot takes. How about that?
Takes.
Hot takes. Get your hot takes.
Later in the show, we'll review and rate the canned beverage and let you know if you should try it while sitting on your back deck with a beer in hand, listening to the sirens, watching the tornado come in.
It's a season. Reason for the
Tis
season.
the season. I've seen a couple of pictures already, and we're in the Midwest, so it seems pretty prevalent.
We were in the alley.
It's like I'll go on our local Reddit, and it's like, hey, heard the sirens going off, and the picture attached is literally a hand holding a beer, sitting on the back porch,
Watching it come in. There's nothing better than watching a good storm come in, though. I mean, I get it. It's dangerous when it's a tornado, but it's fun to watch a storm come in. They're cool.
I feel like we learned our lesson, though, and I know we've talked about this on a previous episode, but the tornado that darn near hit our houses and hit a friend of ours' house.
Yep.
And it was like a mile away, and I was standing right by the window, just going from each window to window, going, "Wow, this looks like a bad one."
Yeah.
And,
recorded on my iPad, and then realized that our friend lost their entire house, picked up, and moved.
Yeah. Terrible for them, obviously. All right. Well, during the storm season, we're going to have a can. In order to introduce it, we do this.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to do it for all of us here at Channel 4 News. You stay classy, San Diego. I'm Ron Burgundy.
Damn it! Who typed a question mark on the teleprompter? For the last time, anything you put on that prompter, Burgundy will read.
Playing some country for you.
I love it. I appreciate it. It's kind of country rock, but yeah.
It is. I can't do slow country.
Country doesn't have to be slow.
The wailing country.
Okay.
The crying country. All right. Well, I mean, I think that was a gimme. You said the name of the movie.
It was.
Sort of.
And I just watched it last weekend. It's
Did you?
Anchorman. I love that. I hadn't watched that in forever, and it doesn't get old. Like, I dig it. Like, my wife hates that kind of movie. It doesn't hate, but, is iffy on stupid funny. And I love stupid funny. And that thing is stupid funny.
And you're not a huge movie person, so when you find a couple that you like, I think
Yeah.
So like doing news, I'm like Anchorman.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect for this episode. So, you want to talk about introduce the beer I brought?
Yes, this is weird. I keep doing puffs. I
Yeah,
don't know
why are you
why.
puffing?
I don't know. They
That's
say
weird.
they don't do that in the microphone.
Puff?
Yeah, everybody's ears will do something that's
Sorry about
ASMR for you freaky folks out there.
We should do a whole
This was a
ASMR.
surprise. He just brought this out from underneath the table as a surprise, and it's quite ordinary. But
It is quite ordinary, but it's also in the news.
I feel like I got that when I saw it.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, I've been watching a couple of reels.
It's on Instagram and
things
socials everywhere.
And it took me a minute because I don't really follow a lot of news.
You're like, what? You had to catch
I
up
go,
a little?
why are people trashing these 12 packs, 12, whatever cases, throwing them around or pouring them out in their sink and then telling me I'm woke and stuff? I don't know. I'm like, for you drinking beer? That seems weird.
So we're gonna do today it's a pint can of Bud Light. I decided if we're gonna do an ordinary can, we ought to get the bigger version of it. So we're doing Bud Light. I'd give you Florida ounces and alcohol by volume, but if you haven't had Bud Light by now,
it's the number one beer in America, I believe. 20 years running.
Yeah.
Like by a long shot.
So I thought it might be kind of fun. People are always like, why are you always doing the cockamamie stuff? And I'm like, this is a perfect episode not to do the weird stuff. And we'll just do one that's in the news. So we're doing Bud Light. Bud Light made the news.
Excellent.
For those who don't know, they sent a couple cases of their Bud Light to a transgender female and they put her face on it. And that got people in because she's a social media influencer. So she put it out online and it got people all in an uproar. So as the theme of what I think this show is going to be is I want a hot take. So we're going to go through some things that have caught my eye and you tell me what your hot take is. I'll tell you what my hot take is on some of this stuff. We can generalize it too, because this one to me, we've talked a little bit about generally going people who like, oh, I'm going to go protest something, or I'm going to let's all ban Bud Light and
cancel it.
Boycott it. Right. And you're like, just from a data perspective, Bud Light gets 30% of the revenue from the US. The rest is 70% worldwide.
Really?
Yeah. They have over 20 some odd brands so not just Bud.
InBev, you're talking.
InBev. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
InBev, right? So you talk about Goose Island. They own the distributing of that. They own Modelo. They own Corona, because those are owned by the same company. They own the distributing of that. They own all the Shock Tops and Mick Ultras and all this normal Budweisers. And so they own multiple brands, all through which they either, you can either tell that they own it because it has Budweiser all over it, or they own the distributing rights, right? So it may not be on their truck, but they own the company. So where are you at with this? What's your hot take on all the hubbub about now that a transgender person's face has been on a couple cases that they sent to that person to celebrate the fact that she's been a transgender female for a year?
Okay.
That every redneck in America has decided to monster truck over a case of beer. How do you feel?
Okay. So just to set this up a little additionally, if you've listened to the show in the past, I don't much follow politics too much
or the news.
Yeah. I try to get big events. If it splurges or spills over into other mainstream type of things that I consume, which are more are just fun facts, fun memes, a plethora of other stuff. So you're coming at me with some of what I would say is sort of fresh. So my hot take might be a little fresher, or I might ask a few questions.
You ask away,
and then after that, you'll have more of the known piece of it.
I just thought, let's do some current events, some political stuff, and see where we land.
Get fired up.
Especially because I unfortunately watch probably too much of it, and you don't watch nearly the amount I do.
Right.
Not saying you don't watch enough, because I think you're probably a happier person because you don't watch the news. But
my parents have told me that I don't watch enough. They're like, really?
No, you do. It's plenty.
It's when something really big happens, I turn it to a particular channel, and I'll just say CNN. It's not that because I think CNN's necessarily all that in a bag of apples. I mean, they're all what they are, right? So I tune into that like everyone else. If there's a major happening, when the Twin Towers thing was happening, I was glued to the TV like everybody else.
Because you look to them as a news outlet, and you can decipher if they have a slant on something yourself because you're an intelligent human being. Yep.
And what's interesting is I find that I tune in, and then about 20 minutes later, I'm like, they're just going over the same stuff. They're trying to get information as it comes in, but it's going to be a while usually.
They're going to correspondents who don't have any information. Well, we're on the scene, and I know nothing about anything, and I haven't talked to anyone, and you can see clearly behind me the same thing I can see clearly behind me. Back to you in the newsroom. Right. And you're like,
so then I usually tune out unless it's a super huge event. Like, I mean, the Twin Towers was something that we're all just watching for a while.
Yeah,
but
for days.
Anyway, I sort of went off on a tangent there.
Wow, way tangent.
I know. But, that is all to say this will be fun because you get to, and we used to do this ad hoc anyway over beers, right? Even before the podcast, I go, tell me what's going on in the news.
Yeah, you would say, catch me up.
And tell me in your version because I don't want to hear the version on the news.
So this is like an old school one of our get-togethers, which is why I kind of got excited about this topic.
I love it. So InBev gives a trans person influencer, you said?
Yep.
Which not an influencer in my sphere, apparently, maybe younger, because I didn't see this at all. I didn't see the person.
Yeah.
I don't even know who it is. And then a lot of people who are very anti-trans type of stuff. We'll just call it maybe, because it seems like I have heard the word trans way more in the last, 6 to 8 months than I ever heard. And it seems like it's the newest fear-mongering thing right now. So good on them because they can do whatever they want, right? Yeah. They're a business. So my hot take is a business can do whatever they want. A business that size probably has done some consumer feedback testing and
some market research,
right?
They don't
market
do things
research,
knowing that they're going to make money off of it,
and
somehow.
they've decided they're going to put a little bit of effort over to a consumer, maybe that they want to reach out on, and they are getting publicity from people. Now, these other people that are going out and smashing all or pouring their beers out, that's their right too. You know? And if they stop buying it, well, I mean,
great.
That'll make InBev decide from there, do they want to continue or do they want to change? My guess is that this is all pretty quick, flash in the pan, right? That's just my personal opinion because usually these things don't last very long. And the same people that were drinking Bud Light will be drinking Bud Light a year from now.
Yeah.
Unless they are the diehard, the most fundamental, like, I am never going back. But my guess is that other beer companies, because I think I saw someone said, well, this is all for naught because most all of the other beer companies have done something related to the LGBTQ community.
Gay Pride Month, almost all of them have put out some sort of, rainbow-looking container for their beers or redone their websites or whatever, right? So go pick some, like start home brewing, I guess is what the answer is, because every other beer company that you'd probably go buy something from,
right, are not anti-live your life however you want to,
right?
Because, and here's my other question: was it a trans kid that was like 10?
No, it's a biological male transition to female, so it's a trans.
But over 18?
Yeah. Adult, grown-ass adult.
Because my biggest thing is what I have gleaned from some of what I've been hearing on the periphery is that there are people, or like states, that are trying to make these laws, right, having to do with these kids. And again, I think it's fear-mongering right now. There isn't a large issue for political parties to get the fear instigated into their bases, because I think we've talked about this before. Fear is control, and control is what fear, and control is power, and power and money, all that. So if it's not a war, because usually for a long time it's like war or somebody really bad, like Saddam Hussein, you could go, okay, for a long time Bush was like, I can do that, or Afghanistan for after that, or
we have an enemy.
Wars was the Cold War, big thing. You could point over there and do you fear that? Do you want them to come over here? Then vote for me. I don't feel like there's a real big fear right now other than this. Like this. So, well, this is what they latched onto.
Yeah.
And this continuing abortion thing.
Yeah. So I think there's
that's my hot take, I guess.
I love it. That's what I wanted.
Sell the beer, dump the beer. In either direction, do whatever you're going to do.
Yeah.
You guys will figure it out on your own.
Yeah. All right. That's your hot take. I love it. My hot take on it, just from where I stood, is it makes me, so there's a lot. So if you go one level deeper and say, okay, people are ticked that Budweiser's what they're calling sponsored a trans woman. I get it. That's fine. Power of the purse, right? Just don't buy it. I don't care.
All right.
Run over it with your Jeep or monster truck or whatever you want to do. I literally, that's all on you. I love living in a free country that you can go do that. You can spend money to waste it on running it over
Right.
with you. But it's okay. The interesting part for me is the interesting part of the take is there are people who are like, oh, now they're kind of Instagram famous-y type people. And they're like, oh, well, they do their little reels where they take a drink of Bud Light and then they start talking like a girl. And they're like, Bud Light basically turns you trans. And I was like, so I can live with everybody going, oh, just protest this. Those are a dime a dozen. This company pissed me off, so now I'm gonna ban them. Great, or cancel them. Great, awesome, do that. It's the people who drank the beer 3 weeks ago and didn't
Right.
turn trans, and now they're like, yeah, if you drink this, then you turn trans. And you're like, what is wrong with you? Like, I get you're doing it as a joke, possibly, but it's like people are so crazy, like so uneducated. Like, I just don't get it. Why do you put that out on the internet? Boggles me. My hot take is stop doing stupid crap and putting it out on the internet like it's going to be funny. It's just dumb. 3 weeks ago, you drank that beer and while you were fishing and you drove there on your monster truck. I get it. You were all good. They gave this same beer in the same can, brewed at the same time to a trans person. And now you're like losing your mind, like lost your mind. So that's my hot take.
And obviously, I don't think they're trying to portray that the beer itself
Yes.
will do something to you. I mean, that has to be tongue in cheek. That has to be sort of their how else do I make my message different from the next person?
Yeah.
Because all I saw were a couple people like pouring out mostly.
Yeah, that's where it started.
Or like throwing them on the ground.
Just the
Beyond that, then you're just trying to differentiate yourself in an extreme way so that you get clicks and views and likes. I mean, that's the power of social media. It's making that behavior just amplified. But yeah, and to your point too, I mean, we talked a little bit about country music. How many country music's actually mentioned Budweiser or Bud Light by name? So, and those people are probably singing along to those tunes, last week.
So there's two songs that have the lyrics have changed now, and they've done it when they're doing them live. Those country music stars recording artists have actually changed it to Coors.
Idiots.
Anyway, so that's the kind of thing where you just
they can do whatever they want, but I mean, come on, man.
What are
they afraid that if they're in a concert of 20,000 people, they're all going to walk out?
Yeah, I don't know.
Start throwing chairs at them?
I don't know where the ignorance comes from. I mean, I would say it's hate, but I just think it's ignorant. I just think it's dumb. Like, why are you doing that?
I mean, I don't think I don't know if it's hate, but it's my guess is it's to show this solidarity, right? It's your team. It's everything. It's about it's your team
divided.
So, again, I think it comes down to this. There's this fear-based topic that is in politics, and they're really pushing on these things because like I said, I'm hearing about these laws of, we're not going to provide health care for, trans people of a certain age and stuff. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, so the people on that team are all rallied, right? I don't want you indoctrinating my kid. I don't want you making my kid trans, because I guess they figure if they hear enough about trans or the don't say gay thing, or if you don't talk about it, then your kid won't happen,
right?
Which is ignorance or their belief. I mean, depending on how you want to argue that. In my opinion, it's ignorance, because you're not going to change their genetic code and their brain structure. They're going to be what they're going to be. And so this is just fear, a topic of fear. It's like, hey, my team is the one pushing this. This other people are against it. Well, show of solidarity, not against it. They just did something that wasn't in line with our view. InBev was not in line with our view.
Yep, so-
we're trying to be less trans. We don't want trans anything.
Right.
And you made this trans thing out there, and that's against us. So we're going to, in a show of solidarity, we're going to get pumped up and do things to show you how upset we are.
Yeah. Agree. It shows me how divided our country is, or how easily divided it can be on things. Like I don't have to be pro-trans to say, I don't give a crap. You go live your life. I want you to have your journey is going to be different than mine in this world. We get so many revolutions around the sun.
Right.
You get this.
We're pro-freedom, baby.
I am pro you living your best life, and I don't give a crap what that is, as long as you don't infringe on my rights.
Exactly.
I just don't understand the people who are like, yeah, now this beer I've drank for 35 years turns you gay or something. You're like, what is wrong with you? And in 2 months, you'll be drinking that beer again. You know why? Because it'll be on sale. And you'll be sitting out on your boat drinking Bud Lights, going, "Oh, I remember that time we had I was putting out hate on trans, like for no reason, because I don't know any trans people, and it doesn't impact my life at all. Zero times has it impacted your life so far. So,
boom, roasted.
Done.
All right, I think we've kicked that one.
I do too.
What's the next one?
I'm gonna try to mix these in with some maybe a little bit more fun ones. Man, that was deeper. Okay, so. We're gonna change to a little bit technology piece of it. So an AI hit that AI. I'm sorry, I already ruined the punchline for you. So a song went out, and it was called "Heart on My Sleeves." My understanding is that it was a Drake and Weeknd compilation. Do you know about this?
I heard on the radio that there was a song that I almost said the Drake,
the Drake and the Weeknd.
Toronto Raptors Drake, right?
Yeah.
Loves up in there, Toronto. Drake and the Weeknd had to pull down.
Yeah. Because they didn't do it.
Okay, it wasn't theirs.
Yeah. They didn't have
All right.
anything to do with it. It was an AI version of them putting out a duet together, putting out a song together.
And it went out on like the radio or Spotify.
I'm a little iffy on where it went out to, but
it was enough.
It got released.
It got their attention.
Yeah, and I believe it actually went out on TikTok. So I think TikTok was the genesis of it, and so it was launched by an anonymous user on TikTok that said, "Here's the new release," and they did something to it, and people were like, "Oh my God, this is crazy!" Drake and Weeknd did put this thing out, and they're like,
and then it just blew up.
We don't know anything about this, and it sounds like them. It's an AI generated version of it.
Right.
Where are you at with AI? Give me your hot take on AI and where we're at, because that seems to be it seems to be on the news every week for something.
Right. So I think this whole AI thing is going to run a natural course where people are going to use it for everything and try it out for everything. I think it's going to be one of those things that eventually people will just use AI for some better
Passing college.
Well, could be. And I could be completely wrong on this, but like AI has a place in technology. There are like AI chatbots that can help you with helping figure out computer problems.
This is next level crap.
I understand, but I'm just saying like the AI scope is huge, right?
Yeah.
Like it can be in a lot of different facets. AI has been around for a while. Or in machine learning, right, which is sort of similar, if not the same sort of concept, right, of AI. It's been around a long time, and there's been practical uses for it.
Yep.
When I say practical uses, I think those will continue and develop and get more robust.
You think the novelty crap will kind of fall off?
I think this is impractical use of it, yes, and I think that people will get sued. Because you can't impersonate another person or likeness, and there's laws that already protect that. Now, it's really hard in the internet world, right? Like, so this song went out there,
yeah,
but I heard they took it down, and if they can find this person, I think legitimately they can sue them.
So you basically think it's such in its infancy that it hasn't gone through the litigation process to refine it down to its most useful form, and only its most useful form, and not all the novelty nonsense.
Yeah, I think you're going to see this for a while, like the deep fake stuff, kind of interesting. The chat bot or I should say voice generated AI stuff where you can have simulated voices on things. It is in an infancy where people are just throwing everything at the wall.
Yep.
And eventually it will work its way through the system. I sort of equate it to, and I could be completely wrong, but you remember the days of like Napster and music sharing and file sharing, and it went bonzo, right? Like there was so much going on with the music sharing and free file,
everything other technology.
Yeah,
like
but like if I take that as an example, this free file sharing and the record industry is like, oh my gosh, you're going to kill us, right? Because we're going to make no money. There'll be no actual new music. All you people are just going to do these free music, and the whole industry is going to collapse.
Right, and then 3 or 4 years of legislation or regulation or lawsuits kind of refined it down to say, we're all okay.
Yeah, they figured out, the businesses figured out a way to monetize, right? Put it on streaming services, make it so that people don't really have an incentive to do it, and de-incentivize it. Also criminally punish people that do it. And
still reward artistry or whoever holds trademarks and copyrights and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so if you get 1 million, everybody's on a different tier level, but if your average Joe gets 1 million spins on Spotify, they get money for it.
Right.
It might not be what they used to get back in the 80s, when people were buying CDs, but things were priced.
It's also
really big.
nothing, which is what they were getting for about 3 years with Napster or whatever we had Napster for.
So that's what I think. I don't think AI is going to go, is going to take over everything to the point you don't know who, in 5 years from now, we won't go, I can't trust anybody. I can't even trust the person walking in my house. It could be a robot AI.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm going to go the other way with it then. I think it's going to take over the world.
It's sentient. It's Terminator.
It is at some point. I love the idea, though, that because I am not talented enough to write my own song, but I have ideas that I could plug them into something and it would go, hey, here's an idea. Here's a song for you. And you go, oh my God, that's great. I think there's super good, cool uses of it. But I also think that as it gets better, being able to tell the difference between human and AI is going to be harder and harder to do.
I agree.
And that's going to be a rough road to go. Like, for one, I can replace a lot of things that are human done now. So I think there's that piece of it, but there's also I won't know real from fake at some point.
Yeah, but you don't know that today. You go to concerts sometimes and they lip sync it. Right? Yeah. They're not singing that. And you accept it, right? And you go, man, this is entertaining. And if someone told you, hey, that person's not singing any of that, that's total lip sync, you might go, ooh, maybe that changes your mind. In a lot of people's mind, though, they'll go watch a
lip sync show,
a concert, and the person is obviously dancing all around,
right,
and never
out of breath
in the song.
Yeah.
So I mean, people are watching fake stuff now to a certain extent.
I cannot. My memory is horrible. So this week I saw something, and I don't remember where, but an artist was asked to lip sync something, and he refused. And they go, "You don't have a choice. You're lip syncing." It was on a show, like a live program show, like the Oscars or whatever. And so he made his drummer play without drumsticks, because no one would know that he's lip syncing.
Right.
So he's like, they're gonna know this is all fake, and he was pissed about it. So he's like, yeah, play without drumsticks. The drummer is back there doing this crap, and he's not hitting, like he's got nothing in his hands, and he's just air drumming on an actual drum set. It's priceless. And you go, I don't even know who noticed that in the whole crowd, but he has no drumsticks. It's awesome. I'm like, anyway, so.
My final point on what I was saying too is also movies. You're watching things that aren't real, and you've been watching them forever. So like CGI. Oh, I mean, like,
you mean like Star Wars isn't real?
It's crazy, but I know it's not. But,
is it because you don't believe in aliens?
All of that.
All right. So you think we're used to?
I'm just using that as history.
Okay.
To go, that's what our history is. Right. So if I apply that to the future, I think that it will work itself out, and capitalism will do a good job of it, because people don't people like making money. Businesses like making money. If something's going to infringe on that, they will have a lot of brilliant people with their brains put to task to figure out how to regulate it or
All right.
Boom. Roasted.
Perfect. I love a little Michael Scott quote. All right. So, what do you think? One more, then we rate a beer.
Sure.
Does that work?
Yeah.
So, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Do you know this name?
Is she from the South, a congressperson?
She's from Georgia.
Okay.
Yep.
I've heard of her because she's probably one of the louder ones.
Yep.
Yeah. And she says crazy things.
Yep. So
I would know her face. You know why? Because they're on thumbnails of a lot of stuff, right? Like, so if I'm on YouTube and and they'll be like and it says her name, Marjorie
Taylor Greene.
And I see that face on things. She must be the most outspoken person in Congress. I got to think, because she's on all the thumbnails.
Yeah. She says some wackadoo stuff, I think.
Wackadoo?
But so
she's a Democrat or a Republican? Or independent?
She's a Republican.
All right.
So she is prohibited from speaking on a committee that she is on.
Well, they hate women?
No, they hate people who
good.
They hate people who yell at people who've been subpoenaed to be in that committee as witnesses when she yells at them and calls them liars over and over again. So she basically yelled at the Homeland Security Secretary in the middle of a hearing and basically said, "You're a liar. All of your policies are causing all the fentanyl overdoses, and that China is sending us all this fentanyl. You're a liar that you think you're basically in cahoots with China for sending us all this fentanyl and killing all of our people. There's 300 people who die a day. You're a liar. You're a liar. You're a liar." And finally somebody goes, "That's not really what we do here in a public forum that's broadcast in a committee. Like we ask them questions and then they give us responses, and then we question them more if we need further information, or we think they're not telling the truth. We ask them like somebody was like, "I don't think this is okay." So she's now been banned from speaking at her own committee.
That's her committee?
Well, not her committee. It's a committee that she's on.
Okay, that's good to know.
She's appointed to. Right?
I was going to ask that question.
Yeah, you get assigned or you get appointed to committee positions, right? So you can be on multiple different committees. She's on one of these, and so she's basically they said you can't talk anymore because you're an idiot and you can't follow rules, and you call people names and stuff. So all of that to say, you can give me a hot take on that if you want.
Yes, I have one.
Go do it
with the limited information that I have. Yep. Number one, she's on a committee. And what are these are committee hearings?
Yeah.
Did you say?
Yeah.
Okay. So if there isn't, and I have to believe that there's a code of conduct in Congress. Whoever is the chairperson of the committee should be enforcing the code of conduct. And it sounds like they did.
Yep.
So hats off to them. So it sounds like they got it right. They said, hey, if you can't conduct yourself in a manner that is in keeping with our rules, then you are banned. You're banned. I don't have a noise for that. I just should. Yeah, right. I just
hold the phone.
Yeah, you need to be quiet. So that sounds perfectly good to me. My other hot take on this. I read an article or something. It was a little bit longer form than maybe an article. But
like
it was
book?
on.
What's longer form than an article?
It was on the Supreme Court.
Okay.
And why they don't allow cameras, and should they? And it was really good information. The takeaway here is that you should take the cameras out of congressional hearings and debates because it just makes people play to the cameras.
Yep.
And basically this article was like C-SPAN was one of the contributing factors to what we have today in terms of loud politicians only speaking bullet points to their masses of followers who echo chamber people.
Yep.
Because that's what they're trying to do. Get sound bites.
It's free marketing.
It's free, right. Get a sound bite. The news will pick it up, and then they can replay it or now play it on social media platforms. So if you want to get rid of that person yelling liar at a person who I'm assuming that this hearing is for legitimate purposes and really could garner some whatever they're trying to accomplish.
Trying to get to the bottom of something. I don't know what it is anymore.
Let them get their business done without you pandering to your people.
Yeah.
So take the cameras out, which they won't do because they probably are the ones controlling it. And they're like, hey, I'm getting the free plea. Right. But that would be the fix. Yeah. Take out the cameras.
That is 100% that's funny that you brought that up. So that's 100% my hot take is the second that you tell her she can't, there's no one's watching. This is a serious thing. We paying you to be a professional. People elected you to come be a professional. You sit in a committee. You get no free press for this. If you get press, it's on your own dime. You can do your own marketing. No cameras. She would not have said any of that crap, which is, I think, almost every one of our politicians now. They say stupid, crazy stuff. You have DeSantis taking on Disney, right? Like you have all these people doing things to get them in the press over and over and over again because it's free. Like I'm standing up for whatever cause that shows you that I'm more Republican than the next person who's running for president in a couple.
Right.
Like you're like, oh my Lord, why? All the transgender laws are in my opinion. Like you mentioned it when we talked about transgender. I think all of those laws and all of that press is simply to get them ready for the 2024 election.
Yeah.
Like it has nothing. They couldn't care less about transgender people or what's going on in your schools or your kids.
Well, they're not getting their votes. For sure, right?
Right.
I mean,
right.
So they're already like, oh, you're not our voting block anyway.
But I'm solidifying my people
but
who
we can fear you.
Are afraid.
Right.
Yeah.
So what, just out of curiosity to put this one to bed, what state is she from?
Georgia.
Oh, well, it's a great state of Georgia. Not a knock on Georgia. I like Georgia.
I love Georgia, but Georgia has gotten
Why are they electing her? How many terms has she had? Is she like a long term?
No, I think this is her first or second. She's still early on. She's still young in her career.
Well, she won't last very long, hopefully, if people, unless all her voting block is
she's
that.
She's far over tucked up underneath Trump. So she's going to ride that coattail forever as long as that coattail lasts. Right. So she's that far. I mean, she's with that faction.
So our message to her is shut up and sit down.
Boom.
Roasted. Agree. All right. What do you think we rate a beer?
Sure.
This is going to be a fun one because I don't know where you're going to be at with this.
Right.
So
you brought it. You start.
I get to start. Well, it's Bud Light.
Talk me through the aromas.
Yeah, you
and
me
the taste.
You talking about my palate's telling me is if you like something that tastes like beer, that's a little, moderately beer flavored, Bud Light. Try it. It's a 3. I mean,
all right. So
it's our standard of like the Mick Ultras and the Bud Lights, and that's kind of the they're in our fridge.
That's right.
Like, so,
but Bud Light has its own sort of special place in the universe.
Okay.
To me, when you pop open a can, what you smell is college. You smell freshman dorm.
Ooh.
I get some of that, right? Because I think Bud Light's sort of that foray into, in high school. I smell a little high school too. The little high school, little college, right? So that's what I get. And then when I taste it, I taste like 1 a.m. in the morning, and little cigarette ash. Maybe.
Ooh, just because.
But not in the beer, just in the memory and and outdoors. Because I think most of the time when I was drinking Bud Light, I was mostly outdoors and in the nighttime, like in the evening hours.
Campfires.
Till the wee hours where many a blue can were tossed into a pile.
Do you smell fish? Because I can smell fishing trips on this one too.
Okay. Well, I don't fish a lot.
Yeah, but you don't smell any fish with yours?
No.
Okay. Because a lot of times
sporting events too.
My hand smells like sweat or fish. So when you drink it and your hand goes close to your mouth, all of a sudden you're like, well, this kind of tastes like fish. It's not that bad.
I smell concert.
Oh yeah, I could. Yeah.
And baseball games. Now it's usually warmer for those and more expensive. But I'm getting.
I smell expensive and cheap at the same time.
Right. And so a lot of that going on. And I'm just going to give it a solid 3.
Okay. I love that you circled the wagons like that. And we're like, it's all these memories for me. It's a 3.
It's Bud Light. It is what it is.
Yeah, I kind of figured that's where
I
we
use that phrase. I hate that phrase. I don't even know where that came from. It's Bud Light phrase.
It probably is. All right. So why Texans need to know how quickly Antarctica's ice is melting? Hot take.
Texans
Texans
want to know how fast.
They don't want to know. I guess they probably don't even care, but they should.
Oh, I thought, so what's the...
So Texans, so here, let me give you the context.
Is this a study or
Texans
is this
need
a
to
law?
know. Yeah, Texans need to know how quickly Antarctica's ice is melting. Ice in Antarctica is melting rapidly. It drives the sea level up. Most people go, screw it. I live in Houston. I'm 9 feet above sea level or whatever. Why do you think Texans would care?
They're
Let's call
kind
it-
of
they're coastal-ish, right?
yeah, they're by Galveston. They're pretty close to the coast. And if you recall, not that long ago, it was just a few years ago, they got drenched and the whole city was like underwater.
Yeah, they
So
can't deal with more
Houston
than 3
cares
inches
about
of,
water.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they can't deal with
For
more than
sure.
3 inches of rain. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. So it's all starting to come into context now. They think, oh, this. No, are you saying that they're probably like, on one hand, it doesn't have anything to do with global warming.
it's specifically saying
It's
there's
just-
there's some global warming stuff going on.
Not that humans are making.
Let's take humans off the table.
All right.
Let's pretend like
Because I was projecting
Yes.
on what where I thought you might be going, because like Texas seems to be a little bit more.
Yep, they don't care.
Okay, they don't care about global warming.
I don't care about global warming, but I do care that they're. Why would I care that the Antarctica ice caps?
Here's
are
my
melting?
hot take on why I think they would.
Okay.
Okay. Because Texas is a mess, electrically speaking. They have the worst electrical grid and system in these here United States. And every time the wind blows funny or some ice hits them the wrong way, just a smidge, they're out of power for way too long. And if you recall, what was it? 2 years ago, they got hit with an ice storm, a brief ice storm that like they were out of. And
They were paralyzed for days.
it
maybe
was a week.
Yeah.
There were people, and I felt so terrible, right? Like, but what came out, because I kind of, was like, hey, why is this a thing? Why am I hearing people from Texas talking about being out of, because I work with a lot of people from Texas, and they, it was directly impacting me. So I'm
Right.
like, why would you be out of power for a week?
For a quarter inch of ice, right? Or
Yeah, and again, to hit to the meat of the matter without drilling into the whole electrical system, it's terrible, and it's on its own. They're all
they
like
own
they're
their own.
independent.
They own their own electrical grid.
Yeah, and they don't even want to play with everybody else because they're eventually we're going to be our own country anyway. So like, leave us alone.
And then it fails every time something
And it's
semi-bad
horrible.
happens.
So my guess is they are freaking out that with it's like there was the movie like the Day After Tomorrow, some other weather-based movies where it's like, oh well, this global warming thing is going to impact the storms and produce more of them that come up and hit them. And the more storms that hit them, the less electricity that they can enjoy. So
Yeah,
that's probably why they're freaking out.
among a lot of things, yes, that is kind of the so any kind of impact to, even if sea levels raise a couple inches, whatever that is, like, and nobody in Texas cares about that. The warming of the sea will change the amount of water and the amount of, so the sea's not level everywhere. Like if
Right.
So when ice melts, or like, let's say that we all can agree that maybe there's ice melting, and that the sea levels can rise from that because there's enough to raise it 8 or 9 feet.
Technically, when you get in the ocean, the sea level rises.
Agree. But Texas is uniquely positioned in the armpit, where that Gulf Stream, that current runs right up along, Texas, where all of the hurricanes funnel into.
Yeah,
And
it's like a golf hole,
Yeah.
and the ball is getting put into the hole.
circles around that hole,
and
comes up through the
it
Caribbean,
curves right into there.
and
Yeah.
that's why they should care, but they don't.
I thought you said they did.
This article was about why Texans should care.
Oh, I thought they were all.
I'm sure
okay.
there's people in Texas that do care, but this is, so most people go, I don't really care because I don't
all
live
right.
on the coast.
They're complacent.
Yeah, because if you don't live right on the coast, you're like, if it raises 6 or 8 inches, I don't give a crap. I'm 28 feet above sea level. The problem is that sea level adjusts currents. That warming trend also breeds more storms and changes how the currents flow. And so anyway,
If I lived in Texas, I would have a giant generator on property. I would invest in that. That's one. I mean, I don't have to invest in that where I live, because the longest I've ever been out of power, knock on wood, has been like 6 hours.
yeah,
And that to me was way too long, right? 'Cause
agree. It was 5.5 hours too long.
Right. I'm like, man, everything depends on electricity. We've talked about like if electricity goes out, it's like 3 days.
3 days
before we're
and
cannibals.
we start eating each other.
Right.
Yeah, it's anarchy. In
So
3
I would
days.
have a giant generator, one of those that you actually build into your backyard, and then you have a like a natural gas line run to it, and so then it does my whole house. Not one of those generators that just powers my fridge.
Right.
All right, I'm talking
We
a
can't
big
live
one.
in the fridge,
Right.
people.
No, I'm talking one of those big ones, and I've seen them. My parents live next door to a person who needed it for life support. Right, like it's like they had to have it. So it's this giant box in the back.
It's
and
like a giant Tupperware thing, right?
Yeah, it's awesome. But I think everybody in Texas should have that until they change their power grid.
Agree.
Boom. Roasted.
Awesome. Okay, so serious topic.
Oh man, serious. Let's get it.
Dead birds get new lease on life. A New Mexico researcher has developed taxidermy bird drones.
All birds are drones because birds aren't real.
That's where hot take. We're done with this one. All right.
Was that really the punchline? There were people that were coming through.
There's a website called Birds Aren't Real. Go look it up. They're not sponsored by us, or we're not sponsored by them.
We're not, but we should be.
But we should be.
Was that where you were going? Where the birds aren't real people?
I could have gone that direction. It was a kind of choose your own adventure depending on how you reacted, but I love that you went that direction. I'm okay leaving it there.
So I had to figure that out because that was hitting the socials for a minute last year. And that was all a goof, right? Like the guy that kind of came up with it, it was basically satirizing the whole, I can make a movement out of everything.
Yeah.
And if you believe in the earth being flat, then I don't think birds are real. And get behind me and then they got so much following.
I almost bought a shirt because I thought they were awesome.
It got so much of a following that they were having legitimate rallies.
Yeah.
That were moving
like
across.
People will follow anything.
Yeah.
A bunch of lemmings.
And that they then when they land on the power lines, they
get charged.
They're charging up.
Yeah. And all they're doing is spying on you
for the government.
Yeah. The government wants you to see what you're doing. Like as if the government can.
Right. How many people are there in the United States, roughly? 350 million?
350 million, yeah.
I did see, I think it's up a little, 370 maybe, because the whole India
we're going to need to get more birds
past China. So I subscribe if you like Reddit, and I know I talk about this often, but there's a subreddit called Data is Beautiful, and they post up these graphs and stuff every once in a while. And there was one either yesterday or the day before, and it was the world population by size. And they were showing how India has overcome China, and then they broke out all the countries. We're still the second largest, third largest country in the world, but a couple other countries are getting up there. It's really cool.
Just not to dork out on there, but so I'm not the biggest data guy in the world, but I do love the fact that they do timeline, like little video clips of timeline data where you can actually see things change over time. I'm like, I dork out on those things.
Yeah. So birds aren't real.
Birds aren't real. Great. All right. So
I can get on board with that. I don't particularly care for birds.
Yeah. I mean, there's no reason for
they
them
do
to
their
be
thing
real.
as long as they don't poop on me or my car, but they do sometimes. Although they say that's good luck, right?
If you're in Ireland,
right?
I think that's
and it's one type of bird.
Yeah,
it's the crow's cousin.
It's a raven.
No, I forget what it was.
What's a crow's cousin? I do remember having this conversation, but I thought it was a raven. It's not a
it's
raven.
like it's a magpie.
Magpies.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
4 seconds and I'll get it.
I love all the throwbacks all of a sudden. That's awesome. All right. So, all right. 84-year-old man, Kansas City, Missouri. Do you know this story about he shot a young black man who came to his door?
So I did hear, I saw something come across of why are people shooting strangers? And so I got sucked into that one because I was like, oh, what is this about? And so I did hear, I guess there's been 3 instances. That's all I know about.
I know of 2.
There was a cheerleader.
2 cheerleaders shot in Texas. That's the other one I know
They opened
about.
the wrong car door.
Yep. In the parking lot. Yep.
The old man, I didn't know he's from Kansas City.
Yep.
Somebody opened the door or just pulled in their driveway.
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know this one.
They shouldn't have been shot, period. but they did. And I think it was that they came up to the door and started to open the wrong door.
Gotcha.
Okay. And then the third one, maybe the third one is the one in the wrong driveway.
Okay.
All I know is that one caught me. And I was like, what is this? So yes. You want to give me more information, or is it like, what's going on there?
So let me give you my semi-hot take, or maybe a little bit more context, which is, so the Kansas City one, and I didn't read as much about the two cheerleaders in Texas, and I didn't know about the third one that you talked about, but the Kansas City one, 84-year-old man shoots a young kid twice. He comes up to he was just at the wrong door, right? Like, it is what it is. Apparently, they knew from the beginning it was racially motivated, meaning the old man
shot him on purpose. What I read, it was an accident.
Well, so the old
not accidentally shot.
No. Yeah, he felt threatened.
He felt threatened.
So he had a stereotype in his head,
or thought he felt threatened.
There was a young black man at his door. He's like, "This can't be good. I'm shooting him," basically. And the cops were like, "Hey, why'd you shoot him?" And like, "He's a black guy at my door. He shouldn't be here." And that came off as obviously fairly racist. And that generation probably has a different level of racism than hopefully other generations. But then his wife came out recently. So his wife came out.
She's gay?
No, she's actually the one sponsored.
She didn't come out.
So she's sponsored by Anheuser-Busch InBev. No, I'm just kidding. So she
made a statement.
Made a statement. She did not come out. She made a statement that he was basically an abusive jerk, and he has a temper problem.
He's an angry old man.
He's an angry old man. She divorced him a long time ago. He's got a racism problem. She's like, this is just, this doesn't surprise me at all. But what I guess the reason I brought this story up is there's a racism issue to it. And I can't, like, I get why there's a racism issue to it. It seems pretty racist to just shoot a black kid because he's on your doorstep without even talking to him, but just because you think all young black men are bound to be criminals. And I think that's the stereotype a lot of older people have. And that's kind of what the news portrays a lot as well. So it drives that same stereotype. But the thing that caught my attention is we now have Missouri lawmakers saying, well, it's because the Democrats are pushing all this gun legislation and the Republicans won't let it go through. So it became this weird gun control issue again. And I'm like, this old man, like,
he takes two.
He plays knick-knack on his shoe. You got it. Yeah, this old man.
The knick-knack, paddywhack, give the dog a bone.
My God, why did we break out in nursery rhymes? But so this old man.
This man shot a person in his home.
Probably owns it. Like, it's not like he went and he's a mass gunman. He's just a racist old grumpy man.
But
it's not gun control issues.
Sure, race could play a part, obviously, without a doubt, right? And I don't want to get fixed on the race part of it, because
it was more of a weird
my hot take here is, and what's sort of funny is if people listen to this episode, they would probably go, these guys are crazy liberals, which is not the case. Now, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I can't stand that whole either side right now. I can't really stand the parties as they sort of are set up. But if I had to identify as closely with a party as I could, and I don't say I'm one of them, I don't get their card and I don't support them monetarily, but
who would it be?
It would be, what are they called? The Independents? No.
Libertarians?
Libertarians. There you go. I had 4 seconds, but you didn't want to go that long to wait. Probably libertarian, which is interesting because a libertarian take would be that everyone should be able to own guns, per the Constitution, and you shouldn't tread on the right to bear arms, as long as you're, I guess, fit to do so. Right. Here's my hot take. All right. And
give it to me.
Is I am about done with everybody should be able to own as many guns as they want and having no regulation. I think it's common sense. I mean, we regulate, you have to go to get a license to drive a car. Okay. No one is up in arms about going. And if there was a constitutional, like an amendment that said, oh, Amendment 27 is you have the right to drive a car whenever you want and however you want, and it doesn't matter, then I guess somebody, a constitutional, or like whoever is going, I'm the Constitution party and I have to be as close as this as possible, means you can own as many cars and drive it. However, it doesn't matter. You could be 4 years old and drive a car. No. You have to get a license in order to drive a car. You have to take a test in order to drive a car. Usually not one, but two. You have to take a written portion.
Yeah.
Then you have to justify that you can actually do it.
Yeah.
Right. You have to show your work and show that you can handle it.
You have to show your work.
So, I mean, this whole thing, I say, yes, we have the right to bear arms. Let us buy guns. However, there needs to be something similar to the driver's license. You need to have, I believe, and I know this is going to go way against like the most proponents of anti-gun law people, right?
Okay.
The big gun people and the NRA.
Yep.
It's very against that. You should have to take tests. You should have to go to classes. Yep. I went to a class. I went to an all-day class in order to I wanted to do it the right way. I got I own guns. And I also at the time got a conceal and carry license. Yep. And in order to do that, I had to go to a full 8-hour all-day class in which they talked about all the variants of when you should be able to shoot, or when you can shoot people in self-defense, and when you can't, and be expected.
You have to know the law of when self-defense is okay.
Right. And it's very detailed.
And safety.
Yes.
Behind how do you handle a gun in a house, where like all the safety stuff that goes along with a gun.
And we had to go on the range and show our work on that. So,
same as a driver's test, basically.
Yes. I think that there should be waiting periods. I think that there should be extensive background tests or background checks. I think that there should be licensing, registration of guns. I mean, come on. We do it with cars. I have to register every car I own, every boat I own, every trailer of a boat I own.
Right.
You know the trailer of my boat, and you go, I don't want you knowing I got the handgun. Right? Like, dude, if you're a law-abiding citizen, you don't care. I don't care if a person knows how many guns, like the government knows how many guns I have. Yeah. You go, well, and the only argument to that I understand is that one day the government's going to come around and they're going to collect all my guns, right? Because they're going to go, you have 5 guns, and then now you can't take over the government because we're doing real bad things. And that was the whole point of the Second Amendment, right? Is we can bear arms, form a militia, overthrow the government that's being unreasonable and doing crazy stuff. They're already doing that. So that's my point. I'm for making it as difficult as possible for the wrong people to get guns, and this will stop. Also, make sure that the law is applied. And I did see one of those people of the 3 is already getting charged with murder.
The man in Kansas City is.
Okay, good.
He didn't kill the kid though. The kid's
I think this is the woman.
Okay. So this guy's already been charged with whatever you get charged with when you shoot somebody but don't kill them. He's gotten charged with that.
Yeah. Charge them. I mean, and I'm sorry,
prosecute
but like
them based on the law.
And then if you shoot somebody and you shouldn't have done it, you are responsible.
Yeah.
I mean,
you pulled that trigger.
Yes.
That is
you can't just go, I was kind of scared of that person. I kind of thought that's not how the law reads.
Yeah.
It is way more of a burden on you. Yep. They have to have opportunity. They have to, there's several things.
Yeah. You've got to try to actually evade this situation, right? At some point.
First thing you shouldn't do is shoot.
Right.
You might want to say, hey, what are you doing here? And then the kid goes, oh, this is the wrong house. Right? All of that is gone with one question. Even if you're pointing the gun in the person's general direction.
You didn't have to pull it.
And you go, what are you doing? Because he didn't see a gun. That kid didn't have a gun.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and he wasn't threatened. It was just happened to be a black teenager.
I know you keep putting race. It could be anybody, right?
Would he have done that? Would he have gone to the door if it was a white?
We didn't go down that rabbit hole.
And I'm just saying.
But
he
he
felt threatened, but not threatened for good reason, and not threatened by law.
Yeah, the same application of what he should have done should apply to anyone that came up to his door. And
which is not
I can't help what people, and but people have things that happen to them in their life, and maybe I got hurt by a beagle, right? And then
I hate beagles,
and they and then something really bad happened with a beagle, and a beagle shows up at my door. I might be more edgy, right?
Yeah,
than a little schnauzer. Right, shows up at my door. I'm like, hey, I'll feed the schnauzer. I should have chosen probably like a pit bull or something. I don't know, or a beagle. But if I got hurt by a beagle or bit by a beagle really hard, then I don't go to that beagle and go, I'm gonna. Hey, don't stop me.
Just know, I legitimately hate schnauzers.
But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I hope I made my point.
Yeah.
Of it doesn't matter who comes to your door. You have to be responsible. You have to, not shoot first, ask questions later.
Right.
And that you should go to jail for that. And the gun situation in our country, I think, is very much a part of our conversation right now. And conversation. I mean, it's very with all the school shoot, and we've talked about it a couple times. We don't want our kids to be scared going to school.
No.
Is that going to solve this problem holistically? Maybe not. But if we put way more diligence into trying to regulate who's got guns, then it's going to be way harder for that person to get it.
Agree.
Boom. Roasted.
I'm going to add one tiny little bit. Can I do that?
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
It's my damn topic.
I mean, I took over on that one.
You kind of got a little fired up.
I keep getting more passionate every time. And it's like there's this.
I'm tired of the argument. I think where I get fired up is that the argument that any gun legislation will keep us from being able to form, like what the Constitution says, you should be able to form a militia and basically defend yourself against the government. We already have a regulation that says you can't have automatic weapons here. The government has tanks. They have drones that drop bombs. They have automatic weapons. You're already undergunned.
All right.
You don't have a chance now. Like they could take you out. They have nuclear weapons at their disposal. They have all kinds of things that you can't get. You don't have free reign now. The argument's so dumb to go, I don't think you should have to have background check that infringes on my rights. You do background checks for all kinds of other things. To get a job, I had to do a background check to get a job.
Right.
I have to get drug tested to get a job. I have to go back to the license bureau to prove that I can continuously drive a car throughout my entire lifetime.
Yeah. Try owning a house.
Right.
Or renting anymore without extensive background checks. I mean, are you that passionate that they keep a credit score on you? I mean, I want to see a person that's as passionate that they have a credit score that says they shouldn't have a credit score,
right?
And apply that same logic to guns.
So my only hot take on this is hot take is the only reason that one group wants gun reform and the other one doesn't is because there's money in it for both of them.
Yeah,
there's
fear,
money, and power in it for both of them. So stop being the lemmings that go, you're going to take all of our guns away. No one says that. Everybody keeps saying, we want reform to keep certain things away from certain people. If you can't do common sense stuff anymore, our country's really lost a little bit of focus.
And I think I saw somewhere again, it might have been Data is Beautiful, that there's 1.2 guns for every person.
I have guns. I hunt.
Right.
I don't want my guns taken away. But also, if the government comes to my house to say, I'm taking your guns, we're taking it. I've got bigger problems than just the guns that they're trying to confiscate.
Right.
We have gone real south. We need to be packed up and moved to Canada or wherever people go when they get pissed at the U.S. I don't know where you go, but I'd probably go to Costa Rica. It's not gonna happen.
It's not gonna. Right.
It just isn't,
because we have enough other things in place. Yeah. And I try to, and I know we're right at where we need to be.
Yep.
But the government is made out of a lot of people, and we don't have one person running the whole show, or 5 people running the whole show. We have government full of people, and they're all, they all have also self-interest, right, of keeping our country free.
Somewhere at some point, someone has a conscience that goes,
doing that.
This isn't going to fly.
Right. All right.
I love it that we left it there.
Boom. Roasted.
And I learned something today.
I hope people learn something. I thought this was a fun little
Yeah.
hot take. Like, you know, we used to
And,
do
and
this all
maybe
the time.
I don't know if it was quite as humorous as sometimes we get on
Sorry, it
some
got kind of
stuff.
serious, didn't it?
No, but I mean, entertainment isn't always, I think, just hey, what's funny? It's because news, and a lot of people take that as entertainment. It's like it's entertaining. It feeds the brain in a certain manner, and I think that helps.
I just think,
but we also didn't get too.
What I learned from just organizing this little topic for tonight is that it's really very easy to get sucked into just the headlines and go, yeah, I'm pissed off about that too.
Right.
Just expand your mind, learn a little bit, research a little bit, form your own opinion. Don't just consume whatever nonsense is being thrown out into whatever. Like, think for yourself, be an independent thinker. It will make you better, healthier, stronger, have better opinions, have more educated conversations. So I encourage people to do that.
Sounds good.
Cool. That's
all
I
right.
got.
And we'll enjoy the rest of our Bud Lights.
Yeah.
Hope you do too. Or if you're against it, then whatever
don't.
you're drinking.
Yeah.
We don't care.
Yeah, I don't care.
We're not going to push it on you. I hope you had fun and come back and listen some more and leave comments, interact with us, all the stuff we normally ask.
Yep. Let us know if we got it wrong.
Thanks you. Amazing. You made it this far, which means you are my favorite person. Let's do this again soon. Bye-bye, best friend.